There's 16 years of training behind that photo there that you see. There's 20 years behind that second photo. There's also 7 surgeries and probably 80 or more rips on my hands. Now, if someone was to ask you that goal, that thing that you really, really want to do, your life goal, you're going to have to work extremely hard every single day for 16 years. Then you can have it. After that, then you can have it. Is that still something that you would want to do? Are you still going to have the same goal? Now, if someone asked me that when I was young, to be honest with you, I probably would have said no. Every day training extremely hard, physically exhausted, mentally exhausted, probably some mental breakdowns in there somewhere. Yeah, my answer probably would have been no, but I know that sounds strange because that's what I did. If someone would have asked me in this photo to the right after I finished competing at the Beijing Olympics, I want you to sign on for 4 years. 4 years training, the same intensity, the same hardness that you have been to get to the next one. 4 more years of that training. I would have said no. But that's exactly what I did, which is weird. So how did I do that? Perspective. The power of reframing your mind cannot be overstated. Here's an example that I've heard of that I thought was fantastic. Imagine you're at a party and you see someone standing, staring out the window. Like this. That'd be a big weirdo. Now imagine you see someone staring out at the window. Maybe they've got some glasses on, maybe they're holding a cigarette. They're a philosopher, they're a professor. Perspective is incredibly powerful. Pensioners or young unemployed. Now they're both kind of in a way, they're kind of in similar stages. They're both, don't have a huge amount of money, they've got, a fair amount of time on their hands. Pensioners are much happier, it seems. Why? It's because they've decided that they've chosen what they're doing, whereas sometimes young and unemployed seem that they haven't. Circumstances matter a lot less to our happiness compared to the sense of control that we feel over our lives. How we view things is actually more important than what those things actually are. Now, having a positive perspective isn't super easy. If it was, everyone would do it and would live in a world like this. But we all know that we don't live in that world exactly. Now, by now, everyone here would have experienced these things: pain, loss, disappointment, heartbreak, and the rest. But in my experiences and things that I've learned is that the sooner you accept that those things are not only part of your journey towards the goal that you're trying to achieve, but part of life, the sooner you accept that they are things, the sooner that you can decide to do something about it. The sooner you can make the first step towards responding to those things. How we interpret, act, and respond to what happens to us is actually what defines us. Now, when I started out in gymnastics, I didn't have the goal of being an Olympian. My focus wasn't representing Australia at World Championships or bringing home a medal at the Commonwealth Games. My focus was trying to stay on the beam at that club competition that I had in 2 weeks, or making sure I got to training on time for once. Having that mentality towards my sport made the 31 hours a week training a lot more easier to digest. It made those faraway goals a lot more easier to understand and easier to take. Because the most powerful thing we can do is acknowledge that those hardships are a state that we're in. They're not a constant trait. Now, any elite sport is extremely difficult. Extremely difficult. In gymnastics, if we're off by this much, we could seriously injure ourselves. It requires a lot of discipline, a very high level discipline, any elite sport. Something that I would often have to do is, if I was having a particularly difficult day or a difficult session, or I couldn't find an area on my body that wasn't aching, or it was just a rough time, I would have to think to myself, okay, I'm really struggling right now. This is really hard. I don't know if I can do this. I would think, in a week from now, am I still going to feel the exact same way that I'm feeling right now? Or in a month's time, am I going to feel the same way that I'm feeling in this very moment? And the answer was no. And I knew that because, a week or a month prior, I couldn't even remember the hard time that I went through back then, because I was focused on the present now. But somehow, I'm still existing. I'm still here. I'm still at the gym. The world's moving on. So remembering that it is a state that you're in and that it will pass and you'll move on to something else was something that I found very beneficial in my years of training. Now, as a young gymnast, I wasn't particularly super talented. I wasn't the one on, the monkey bars that scouts saw and they're like, we found one, she's got excellent grip strength. That didn't really happen. I was the one in the group that couldn't quite make that one sit-up. Coach would be going, one, and I still couldn't get that one sit-up. I didn't have one particular apparatus that I found came naturally to me or that I was particularly really good at. I was just sort of okay at all four. So I was quite emotional and stubborn at the same time. It's a great combination. If I came into a training session and I had the focus of my goal for that training session was making my very first bar set. That was my goal. Getting ready, I'm chalking up, I'm standing there, preparing. I'm really focused, I'm really determined to do this. And I'd fail. Eternal rage. I had to learn how to control my emotions and control that stuff. Because all athletes want to win. It would be weird if they didn't. They wouldn't have become athletes. And what happens when they do win? So many positive emotions. I've worked so hard, I've trained so long, and I've done it, I've achieved that goal. Got the shiny medal. Coach is proud of me, I'm proud of myself. What happens if they don't make it? Those negative emotions come rolling in. It's easy when you're an elite athlete to view the world very narrowly. It's you and this goal. You and this one thing that you're working towards, which sometimes is very beneficial and sometimes what you need. And sometimes it can make things quite difficult. Because in such a narrow world, every single thing holds such great importance. A lot of weight on your shoulder. I had to learn how to control my emotions. And I found shifting my perspective at competitions to be really beneficial for me. I had to go from the image on the left, where narrow world, me and the goal, training really, really hard towards that goal. I had to shift from that to, you know what? Gymnastics is a sport. Sport is a thing that was made up for people to enjoy and be entertained. Now, of course, it was important to me. Of course, I was an athlete. But by shifting my perspective in that moment, in that state, that allowed my arousal levels to lower, and allowed me to execute my performance to the best of my ability. Your mindset has the most control over your performance or behavior. Now, in 2003, I was 7th in the country. 2004, I was 11th. 2005, 9th. 2006, 3rd. And by 2010, I was the Australian champion. Now, when I was 13, was I thinking of being the best gymnast in Australia at that time? No. I was thinking of trying to keep my hips square and my flip series on beam over a piece of wood that's that wide. That's what I was thinking about. I was thinking about doing, a better competition than I was last time. By focusing on the small, marginal adjustments, those things added up, made a massive contribution to my progress. Now, I wasn't a super crazy ambitious kid. I was pretty normal. I knew my strengths and I knew my weaknesses. I was very much all or nothing. I was either going to completely do something to the best of my ability, or I just wasn't going to do it at all. So how would I have tackled on all of that? Like that's a massive amount of hard work. By taking big concepts, big massive assignments, and breaking them down to more manageable tasks. Setting achievable goals. Acknowledging your failures and your weaknesses, accepting them as that's where you are, making the first step towards moving out of that place. Your mindset, your perception of your goals is the key to achieving them. Thank you.